The Sockjig Sneaker Podcast is the sneaker industry's leading ethicist. Episode 9 of the Sockjig Sneaker Podcast. Thanks for tuning in. I'm your host, Sockjig. You can follow me on Twitter at Sockjig and on Instagram as well. All right, we're back after a little bit of a delay there. I hope you had a good holiday break as well. On this episode, I go over a couple of the recent releases, Undefeated 97s and the Bodega Dunk. Sneaker Guy of the Week is back as well too. And then for the main segment, I talk about Hidden New York and why all design contests are unethical, and about how he was angry at me in the DMs. Finally, at the end, I pay a special tribute to a friend, Benny, that we lost. He was a member of our group chat. And it kind of explains, why the energy might be high and low in this episode. This episode's been recorded over the last few days. And a lot of the times I record after midnight, sometimes at 1 a.m., Pacific time. And sometimes I'm getting up at 6:30. So I got to find a better recording time and a better recording space so I can put more of these out there. I wanted to say thank you to, the people on Twitter that follow me and, liked some of the stuff that I do, the content that I put out there. The lists that I do always are usually a big hit, like the worst things of the year and the bricks of the year and stuff like that. I hate to break it to you, but there's a couple lists I probably won't do this year. Previously I used to do low-key flips of the year, and people would usually get mad at me that, I'm burning loops and stuff like that. But honestly, I did not keep track of them that much this year because most of it was the same. Most of it was just, Jordan 1s and mids and Jordan lows and stuff like that. There were some gems here and there, and, there still are right now. So that's why I just kind of skipped it entirely. For worst drops of the year, I was keeping track of some of this stuff. I look back at my notes, and some of these drops I don't even remember at all. Like, does anyone remember the Cinder Easy Supply only had 4,000 pairs? And that sock was shifted to the Adidas app, or that was in 2020. Or I wrote down that, Funko Black Lightning was a disaster. And I don't even remember what the hell that was. And I usually don't even include Funkos or anything non-sneaker related. So why did I write this down? The Travis PlayStation, was that even a drop? I even forgot that happened. But everyone wasted their entire day on that. Anyways, I might dig it up as a podcast segment later. And even I still might do a couple more lists as podcast segments, like some of the best stuff of the year or even pickups of the year. But to kick it off, let's do on feet and pickups. On feet, the last few weeks, I've been wearing the Atmos Air Max 1 Elephant. I think I said that in episode 3 or 4. I was wearing it back then too. And that's just a shoe that just looks great at any angle. Anywhere you hold it, any view that you have, it just looks perfect. So, I like to wear some of these nicer kicks when I can, even if the weather's bad. I posted a photo of them on my Twitter where it's all muddy and stuff. And, it cleans right up because the quality is so good on it. The leather is so nice on it. I also been wearing the Stash Spiridons. I found those on a shelf, the blue ones. And, yeah. Well, every Stash shoe is blue, but those are a great shoe too. I always go size up on those just because they fit so narrow. For pickups, it's probably been probably quite a few since last time I recorded. I got those Jubilee Jordan 11s. I think it's one of those ones where I tweeted that my plan is to pass on them and then change my mind right at the last second, and that's basically what I did. I tried for about 15 minutes and it added to cart after that and then checked out. I also picked up the OG Air Max 95 Neons. That's a shoe I never really had before. I've always just skipped it. So I was always missing from my collection. I think everyone's got something like that where, you have a incomplete collection. So I got it and it fits narrow. So I probably won't keep it. I don't like wearing a shoe that's too tight. I didn't see any size 12 and a halves drop, and 13 will probably fit. So if I see a 13, I'll probably pick that up and sell this one. I got the Kith Air Force One, the Knicks one that released too. I was lucky enough to get a loyalty program invoice for that, just because I've bought some of the Kith Nike stuff in the past, like the Pippin purple shoes and some of the track pants and stuff. Those are shipped to my U.S. address, so I don't have them in hand yet. I also picked up the Kid Cudi Vadawan, something like that, 326 or something like that, the Adidas shoes. Those things, I just thought it would be a good, low key flip. Kid Cudi's got a fan, even though they kind of look like moon boots, which fits Cudi's whole style and his albums and stuff. But I was actually surprised when in hand they're not actually that hideous. They fit kind of pretty good. I actually like shoes that give good ankle support, so they're high. But it's an easy shoe to rip on that that it's ugly, and I think they did a great job in making sure that it was out there in small amounts. And I think it would actually look pretty good in a low if they got around to that, but who knows. I bought a couple of Bad Bunny Crocs just because it was linked in the group chat, and I was like, all right, I think these flip as well. I don't have those in hand either, so but those are just quick flips for me. I was able to get an assist on the Kobe Grinches as well, which is a Kobe Grail shoe for me. It is, in my opinion, the best Kobe shoe ever made, and I love sixes more than any other model. So I'm really looking forward to a lot of the Protros that are coming out this year. But shout out to my friend who was able to assist me on those. My unnamed friend. You know who you are. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Those shoes are awesome. I also picked up the Undefeated Air Max 97, the olive colorway, and also the Bodega Dunks. And so that kind of transitions what I want to talk about next is these two releases. First up, I wanted to talk about the Undefeated Air Max 97s that released. They released as a pack on December 27th. There's a militia green kind of olive one that was, very similar to the Friends and Family one that released last time, and a black Volt one kind of that hints at the Air Max 95 neon. And they also released individually on a few days later, December 29th. Before the drop, there was not that much buzz leading up to that compared to the previous 97s. And just like a couple days before the pack drop is when Undefeated announced that it's going to drop as a pack with some toys on here. And the way that the common sneaker consumer these days is conditioned to act is, you have to jump on it. You might not get another opportunity. It's very possible that they would drop a whole bunch of packs, but not that many individually, because that's just how, sneakerheads are conditioned for drops. It's not like those black and, those Gucci Air Max 97s from a few years ago were easy to get. Those are really hard to get. Back to the no buzz. Really, the buzz would be more on the olive one because that's the nicer one of the pair. And the black one is just not nice. So it's not, obviously if you like it personally, it's nice to you. That's great. So I think, once the pack was announced, I think if resellers were going to go after them, most of them, I assume, would just target the bigger sizes because usually those are fewer in stock. I personally didn't go after the pack just because I didn't want the black one. I was like, I'll take my chances. But I wanted to see how the drop would go. So I was there and I tried to enter queue. And first thing I noticed that there was no checkpoint, meaning that there was no bot protection on. That was your first sign that maybe there's a lot of stock. So I sat in queue for maybe 4 or 5 minutes. I entered a size 12.5, which I know is usually a very rare size, but that's 97s fit a little tight and I'm size 12, so that's my ideal size. So I sat in queue for about 4 minutes and then I got a sold out thing. So I figured, oh, okay, that makes sense. They're not going to be that many 12s. But then, I added a 13 to cart, easy. Added a size 12 to cart, easy. I reloaded the main page on another tab and could see that most sizes were there. I was kind of right in that resellers were going for the bigger sizes. So after I saw that, according to order numbers from, people I know in these Discords and Slacks that did buy, the difference between the first one and the last later orders before it sold out was maybe like 10K. So maybe there was 10,000 packs that came out. So That's 20,000 shoes, which is way higher than the stock was last time for the Gucci 97s. Those might have been only like 1,000, 2,000, or even capped at say 4,000 on Undefeated itself. So then a couple days later, they released individually as well. And when they did, same thing, no bot protection. Stock was really high. That's when I was able to get my size 12.5. Most sizes I saw sat for most of the afternoon. And then later I saw they were sold out. So I'm not sure if they actually sold out or if they were just pulled. And then after that individual release, I saw that there was a complex article by Brendan Dunn. And this is the point where I wanted to talk about, where I thought it was really interesting in that this article came out afterwards. And most of the article was about how, an interview with the Undefeated guys and how these shoes are meant to be worn and not resold. And, it kind of talked about how the originals are much more limited. So this is a quote from the article. Undefeated even dropped a surprise 2-pair pack release over the weekend, selling both shoes for $360 and offering buyers a chance to own a matching figurine. It's kept pricing for these looking to flip the shoes low, sort of thwarting those efforts by packaging the two colorways together. For some resellers, the pack rendered the black pair as a brick that's barely going over its retail price on the secondary market. Then again, these sneakers are not meant to be resold. Undefeated designed them to be thrashed more than treasured. So, the contention was that the pack would kind of keep resale prices low, and that, resellers reviewed that the black pair is a brick. And so, my thing was, I didn't think selling them as a pack was meant to keep resale prices low. I think selling them as a pack was meant to get rid of as many as you can because you had a lot of them. So I sent out a tweet that obviously it's cool that they made enough pairs for people to cop easily for personal, but this sentiment that they made a lot so it kept resale prices low is false. You can make 100,000 of these and they'd flip if they were super nice. So that was the main thing. Resale price was low because the black pair sucked. And that black pair one is going to drag the resale price of the other one, especially if you bundle them together and then also produce them in a large quantity. Brendan Dunn replied to me saying, that was not really the sentiment of this article that this article expresses. And, that it's more about, the history of Undefeated and kind of bundling them together. But Brendan Dunn can't really say the black shoe sucks in the context of this article. Maybe on his YouTube shows he can say that, or his podcast, but when he's interviewing the people, he's not going to say, oh yeah, by the way, the shoe you guys are making sucks. So, I replied that, that's why I'm here to say it, not like the Joker. And so, but what's interesting is, it's very convenient. This article came out only after all the releases were done. This could have came out before the release was out. It could have given people a heads up that they don't need to buy the pack. That it could have at least told the resellers to stay away, and regular sneakerheads would have bought up. But it's interesting that it didn't come out before, because then that meant they might have a lot more inventory than they currently do. In that, the article implies that they kind of wanted resellers to stay away, and it goes to real sneakerheads. But by making them as a pack, by having a ton of stock, by having the article come out afterwards and no hints towards a stock, you're actually openly courting resellers to buy them, not having bot protection. Of course, Undefeated is notorious for canceling as many, auto canceling. They have some sort of signified D extension that auto cancels based on the fraud score that you might score with your address, IP, and credit card. I'm assuming all that stuff was off or turned away low, because I didn't see very many cancels. Because why would you want to cancel when you have a ton of stock to get rid of? So this contention that, we don't like resellers, we want to keep them away, these are meant to be worn, but everything you do says, hey, resellers, please buy as many as you can because we need these gone. So that's what I thought was a little, hypocritical, but obviously it's not a big deal. I'm glad that the people who wanted the shoes were able to get them. I feel bad for resellers who bought a ton. They should have actually known better. Maybe those size 12.5 olive will flip. If you bought one pack and you sell it for $50 loss, that's it. If you bought 40 packs, that's on you. I do feel bad for the people who bought the pack, because they thought that individually be way too hard to get. So now you have a black pair that you don't want. That's on Undefeated. That's how they wanted to release this shoe. It's just, bottom line, it just shows that stores will embrace resellers to take as many as they want if it helps their bottom line. While publicly they might have the narrative that, hey, we're doing everything, we don't like resellers, we auto cancel. So, and Complex is more than willing to help them out in getting that narrative out there. A very similar drop was the Bodega Dunk that came out that was exclusive to them. The one that looks like a catcher's mitt. Now, in the past, I haven't had the best success on Bodega with New Balance No Bad Days shoes. In these shoes, you can tell by most people that this is not a shoe that they would want to wear. Obviously there's going to be people who do, but the average consumer who's buying here was buying to flip. I know tons of people who said this shoe sucks, but they were obviously online and in the queue and trying to buy when it does. Because that's how hype works. That's how this release works, in that that the retailer will have most of the stock. So when it was time to release, these redirected to a new site. It makes sense that that's the playbook for large stock, site exclusive kind of drops. They did have bot protection on, and they did ask the question, what color is an orange? I know most bots do have a feature where you can quickly edit the link and change all your tasks to the new site. So I'm assuming most did that. But what I saw, most didn't work. I'm assuming there was a couple that did work. But honestly, you probably had the same chance manual if you were on the site at the 10 a.m. Pacific time drop, whenever it was. From what I saw was there's probably about, on a new site, on a new Shopify site, the first order number starts usually with a 1,000. And so I saw order numbers up to 15,000, maybe 16,000. So my order number was in the 6,000. So that gives you an idea that there's probably 15,000 stock. And this release was all about kind of the extra stuff that they were doing. They added baseball cards in there. And if you got the baseball cards, you were able to get the friends and family pair. They said it was a 1 in 10 chance to get the friends and family pack. So if there's 15,000 stock, that the math works out to about 750 pairs of the friends and family. And also they came with rawhide laces, randomly. Some got them, some didn't. Like I said, the shoe is okay. It looks kind of better worn in. I'm assuming, I'm not a fan of the Frankenstein stitching on the ankle collar. I think it would actually irritate your back of your leg if you actually wore them. But like I said, I'm not sure how many people are actually wearing them. It also has a Bodega logo on the lateral side. Not a fan of that look. I'd rather just have a swoosh there. And I think, the area around the swoosh, the patch there, I'm not Sean Go. I don't know all the technical terms here. But the little leather patch, if it had like the dark mocha look where it's white around that, kind of like how the toe box here is white or cream, it would look a lot better. But then obviously it would look a little bit more similar to the dark mocha as well too. So this year the playbook for these large drops have been to go manual. I'm talking about Union and the Concepts Turducken, Undefeated 97s, and Bodega. So go manual. You have a decent shot at getting it if you get in the queue. I know some people have been right on it right away and got stuck in queue. I heard that on the Union drop and the Turducken drop as well, and even on this Bodega one where people just didn't get out of the queue. So there probably is a bug with the queue thing, but for the most part, 15,000 people hit, which is quite a bit. So, going into 2021, I wish this kind of drop happens more often, but, on shoes that are actually nice, in the list that I gave out, the Union, of course, is number one. And the other ones are, they're decent, and the people who bought to wear are probably happy. And then I bet you everybody else bought to flip. It's going to be rare, I think, to see a Turducken on feed or even these Bodegas on feed. And you can tell kind of that's what people are doing about how resale price crashed so hard on them. The sneaker guy of the week is When Should I Sell Guy. This has got someone who doesn't really resell. They probably don't even have a StockX account. They hit their first thing on sneakers. And so now they have a shoe that they don't want, and they want to know when to resell it because they want to get max dollars. And often the same guy is the type of guy who's previously talked shit about resell, or said the sneaker game is all about being on feet and kind of helping opping other people and stuff like that. But now that they hit a shoe that people want, they want to get max dollars. So then they start asking the people they do know that resell, hey, when should I sell this shoe? If someone asks me this, I'm always say to them, either sell right away or sell it 6 months later. But someone who wants max profit, but also doesn't have the patience to hold 6 months. So, and sometimes within the first couple of months, the prices will dip a bit, and that's when they'll sell, because they're like, oh fuck it, I missed my thing. This is gonna keep crashing. So when should I sell, guy? Sell it right away. Get rid of it. So if you hit on a shoe that you didn't give a shit about, and now want to know when to sell it, you are the sneaker guy of the week. All right, so let's get into this Hidden New York thing. In case you don't know, he's on Instagram, an influencer / tastemaker or / curator type. I've been calling this kind of stuff a mood board, where you post a bunch of images. 99% of the time, it's someone else's image, and either it's people have tagged you and you've reposted, or you found some old Tumblr and you stole some photos and you posted them. Hidden New York is one of the biggest ones out there, and he's got quite a following. He's probably got 400,000 followers, and Drake, there's an article about him, about how Drake DM'd him to find some Visvim jacket and stuff like that. Very successful. He's got his own line of merch and socks and ashtrays and teas and stuff. So for whatever he's done, I've almost always been complimentary in that, he's one of the better ones out there at doing this. So I really only followed this past summer or so to keep an eye on kind of which shoes he promotes, so I can, see the resale price. If he's posting more Syracuse Dunks, and then I check the price of the Syracuse Dunks versus Kentucky, like, is there a difference, for example? So does he move the needle is why I was looking, because really I don't care about Instagram all that much. It's all about showing a fake version of who you are. On Twitter, I'm a very real version of who I am. I like making absurd jokes and kind of ripping on people, very fairly though. And so then one day I see a post where he's posting a t-shirt design competition, is what he calls it. First place gets $1,000, and your design is manufactured and you will be sent the collection in your size. Second place gets $500. Your design is manufactured and you'll be sent the collection your size. And third place gets $250, and the same thing. And basically says email them to his email. It ends on January 31st. And the selection of the designs will be chosen by him and voted by the audience. And all participant work that posted will be credited using their Instagram handle. Nothing else, no link to the site, no terms and conditions or anything like that. Just an image that said everything I just kind of read out. So I saw this and I went, design competition. It's a design contest. So I sent out a tweet and said, Hidden New York is doing a t-shirt design contest, which are basically unethical. It devalues good design to something almost worthless, $250 for third place, and some, quote, exposure. Then I linked a site called nospec.com. And then I also went on his Instagram, which I've never, I posted a comment, which I rarely do on other people's accounts. And I just wrote the comment, design contests are unethical. So why are they unethical? The first hint is that there's an entire site called nospec.com devoted to this very topic. So maybe that is a sign that it is unethical, that I'm not just making this up or pulled it out of thin air. So basically, what the site talks about is spec work, which is short for speculative work, or work that's done for free in hopes of getting paid for it. So, and it includes competitions, how they describe it as work done in the hopes of winning a prize in whatever form that might take. And other versions of that are volunteer work, internships, and pro bono work. And on their site, they say not all of the above are considered spec work, and in fact, many designers choose to do unpaid work for a variety of reasons. So the NoSpec site even says, is my contest spec work? To answer the question, ask yourself this. Will I equitably pay a winning designer for the work rendered as if they were hired under contract to do the same thing? Will I negotiate proper compensation for the usage rights commensurate to the designer's level of skill? Will I return the working files and usage rights to all submitted designs, especially if they don't win? That one, especially, that point, I'll repeat it. Will I return the working files and usage rights to all submitted designs, especially if they don't win? If the answer is no to any of these questions, then your contest likely promotes spec work. Moreover, any contest that expects a designer to work for free, especially in the case of losers, encourages the undervaluing of a designer's labor, which ultimately undermines the quality of any professional workplace. And there's more on their site, and even the AIGA, which is the Professional Design Association, believes that professional designers should be compensated fairly for their work and should negotiate the ownership or use rights of their intellectual property through an engagement with their clients, is how they write it. To that end, AIGA strongly encourages designers to enter into client projects with full engagement to show the value of their creative endeavor and to be aware of all potential risks before entering into spec work. And some of the reasons why they say you shouldn't do it is because you get compromised quality. You're getting amateur work, and this is a professional association saying don't do this. And designers can be taken advantage of. More on this a little bit later. And there's legal risks. More on this a little bit later as well, too. And they even provide a sample letter that you can submit to a client who wants spec work and say, hey, dear client, this is why I'm not doing work for free. So, I'll break that down a little bit. Why I think it's unethical, because the first one is it devalues design into something almost worthless. It says that you can get good design for super cheap. Even if you're making a ton of money, it's only worth $250 for a design. And whatever brand that reposts other people's photos has deemed that original content is worth like $1,000 tops. So if you're a designer out there and you want to get paid professionally for this, you want to do this full time, you're not going to get a job doing this full time if you have deemed that your work is almost worthless, that you will do a whole bunch of work for $250. Or, another example is think of logos and stuff like that. Usually or design identity. A lot of work usually has to be done to have a professional product. You have to think about the company, what their vision is, what their motto is, and kind of incorporate their colors and stuff like that. Here, HiddenNY is saying, hey, do all that for free because all my stuff, do all my work for you so I don't have to pay. The other reason why it's unethical is because they can make a shitload of money off this, and they're paying a really small stipend. Say he's got like 430,000 followers. If 1% of those followers buys a t-shirt, that's 4,300 t-shirts sold. Say that's $35 a pop. That's like over $150,000. And say the cost itself was $50,000. You just made $100,000 off someone else's design, and you paid them $1,000. Obviously 1% of that many followers buying it is not realistic. So, let's make it a smaller number. Say it's 1,000 t-shirts you sold for $35 each, $35,000. Say costs were high at $20,000. You just made $15,000. The other reason why it's unethical, and this is the part and this is the main reason why I think it's unethical. Losing submissions give free inspiration to these brands. So here's a scenario. Say I design a t-shirt. It's light going into a prism. And the prism is reflecting that light as a rainbow, which hits a wall, and that rainbow hits the wall and it spells HiddenNY on the wall. My submission, I tag him, he likes the photo, but it doesn't get selected as a finalist because, bright rainbow colors are not really the aesthetic of the mood board. It's, natural grays and greens and shit like that. 6 months later, a t-shirt appears on this site of a light going into a prism, and the rainbow is reflected, and on the other side is like a koi fish or some shit like that. Now, where did the inspiration for that t-shirt come from? Did he rip off my submission and tweak it? Or did he not knowingly rip it off, but somehow saw that prism thing and it was stuck in his subconscious and then thought it was his own design? Or was it inspired by the Pink Floyd album cover? The Dark Side of the Moon album cover. So I, as a designer, think I'm ripped off, that he has stolen my design. Obviously this is all a scenario. I post a comment on his IG. Guess what? It's deleted. I have 200 followers. This guy's got 430,000. What recourse do I have? Another example I gave on my Twitter was the Air Max design competition, the one that Sean Witherspoon won in 2017. That was a design contest, but they were all paid for their, a small stipend for their time. Even, maybe if you got to the top 10 or so, you got a little bit more. But I'm pretty sure Nike was saying anything you design belongs to us. So I showed the example of Artemy Lebedev of Moscow. He submitted for the Vote Forward campaign. It was an Air Max 97 with a Vapor Max bottom. And, of course, it loses to Sean Witherspoon. But then the following year, like 8-9 months later, Nike releases the Vapor Max 97 Black Reflect, which is almost the same version of what he had designed. So the question here, of course, is where did they get the inspiration from? And there's no way of knowing. There's no way. Obviously, they can say we did this, had plans to do this way before. But when was this guy engaged? Is this information all going to be publicly released? No, it's not. I'm pretty sure Nike didn't rip him off because it takes 18 months to, usually make a shoe. But like I said, how do I know? How can anyone prove it? This is the risk you put yourself in when you accept submissions from random people. You run the risk of looking like you rip people off. Even if you didn't, but you run that risk just because you want to save some money, because you do not want to engage in and find designers yourself. You want to open up a competition and have designers come to you to make it easier for yourself. Okay, so let's get into Hidden's response to me. First off, he deleted my Instagram comment, the one where I said design contests are unethical. He replied to me, and I will kind of give the gist of what he said, but I have screenshots and all that kind of stuff, but I won't read it out verbatim what he said. He said, "It's not unethical, and that having your work shown to hundreds of thousands is hugely beneficial for upcoming designers, especially if they win. The prize money is usually more than graphic designers get in streetwear." He goes, "It's very clear to me that you've never worked in the industry and haven't struggled in gaining an audience for your work." He said that he spent 8 years as a graphic designer doing trash jobs and never getting an opportunity like this. And then he said, "I can hate all I want and write trash articles, but giving young artists a chance is not unethical, and it's ridiculous to say so." And then he ends it with, "What have you ever done for anyone?" All right, so I get this DM after I posted that tweet, and it's probably 6 o'clock West Coast time when I see this, and I've done Uber Eats pickup instead of delivery just because I wanted to get out of the house, and so I have to go soon, and I wasn't really in a mood to fight, which I will kind of explain at the end of this episode. So I responded very tersely to everything he said. I responded with just nospec.com. I clearly said I don't think he's unethical, but that all contests are unethical. I gave the example of how someone could submit a design and it fails, and then later on it's tweaked and out there and no one is compensated for it. And I sent him a link to the AIGA article. He was pretty angry at this. He just reiterated, I'm not even sure he was reading any of that stuff, that he hasn't done that and that he's done 2 competitions before and received thousands of entries. Okay, so I didn't even know he had done this before because I didn't really start following him until May. So one, it's pretty interesting that he hasn't been called out about this before. Or maybe he has and no one gave a shit. Then he linked me to 2 companies that he's helped that he's helped out. One is one called JPCO and another is called Without Wax, and that they were former winners. He said that they started from the competitions and he gave them a chance and to show it to a large audience. And is that unethical? I just said, no, it's not unethical. You did help these people out. But what if someone else gets your idea to start a competition, I said, and that person rips off whoever submits entries to their contest? Is that unethical? I just reiterated that the concept itself is unethical, and I don't think he is. And then he responded that, contests are not unethical. That's ridiculous. I can't do a British accent, so otherwise I would. Then he sends me a screenshot of my tweet, and then a retweet I did of Brandon Bruyette, who said, not to mention that the comment that I made earlier, not to mention all of their designs they'll be able to see for free that aren't quite refined, and he can tweak and just slightly produce as their own. He claimed that this was unethical of me spreading false information. That is not unethical. My tweet was 100% fact, where I said, design contests are unethical, and I linked to nospec.com, and I backed it up with research. A retweet is not unethical. That was someone else, the whole joke about retweets are not endorsements. I simply said, I cited research, backed up by the AIGA, and I said, congrats on your success. Because like I said, I just wasn't in the mood for this. Okay, so then he said, is it ethical to steal the Calabasas design for your socks? Yours is a blatant ripoff with no creativity whatsoever. I just said there's plenty of examples of streetwear giving nods to other brands. I said, look at Supreme. And I said, I'm not Warren Lotus out here selling millions of socks. And, sock jig socks only make sense if you understand what a sock jig is. Hidden New York has no clue what a sock jig is. And, the winner that I mentioned earlier, JPCO, go check his work. All he does is bootlegger rapper and movie tees with full-on copyright images. And he is his previous winner. And he is saying that my Calabasas design socks are unethical. Meanwhile, his previous winner has like full-on Pop Smoke tees that he's selling and making money off of. Side note, that guy actually responded to me on Twitter. I don't follow him. He doesn't follow me. And he responded with, I don't see a problem in this. Yeah, of course you don't see a problem with this because you won. That is called survivorship bias. And I'll get to that a little bit later too. I can take criticism that my socks suck. Can you take criticism that your design contest sucks? I don't know if you can. I could say a lot of shit about your teas and ashtrays and what I think about them. But I never have. He also, in the first message that he posted, he referred to trash articles. Then again, he referred to it and he mentioned that, the link in your bio. Why? He said to me, why are you trying to attach yourself to my company? I said to him, it is satire. I asked him if I should cite examples of satire. And low-key, I was making fun of him in that article. If you go read it, it's all about how to start your own mood board Instagram and all the bullshit cliche stuff that he does, like the wide leg pants and wooden furniture and natural lighting and Kiko Asics and like I said, don't forget to post MF Doom. I just wrapped it up and said, congrats on your success. I think all design contests are inherently unethical, even if the Pope is doing it. He said, fair enough. I don't agree. But he said, I just want you to know I have no intention of doing anything unethical and all I'm trying to do is give people opportunities. And I said I believed him, which I do. My point is that the whole system is unethical. Like I said, even if the Pope is doing it, I think it's wrong. And some of the responses I get is, so what? Don't enter. They do get good exposure. If you don't want exposure, don't enter. Just because one person is ethical does not mean that everyone else will be. Or the other one was, you're looking way too deep into this, dude. First off, this is the dumbest response I ever get. It's the only one that ever makes me mad because people just want to look into shit superficially. Or they'll say, I personally know people who benefited. So what? What about the ones that were ripped off? This is called survivorship bias. This is the logical error of concentrating only on the people that made it past whatever the criteria that you have, overlooking the other people that did not. An example of this is you shouldn't go to college. Look at Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, and Mark Zuckerberg. Those guys didn't go to college, so no one should. Meanwhile, what about the people who dropped out and are unemployed and have student debt? You forgot about those people. This survivorship bias, to get all Wikipedia on you, it comes from a World War II thing where researchers looking at the warship planes that were coming back, the aircraft, and looking at where the bullet holes were and where they could reinforce stuff, to survive enemy fire. So they said, logically, wherever the holes are, let's patch that area up and put more armor there. And so it was until one mathematician guy said, hey, this is the wrong way of looking at it. All these planes with these holes came back. We need to look at the planes that went down, where their bullet holes were, and we need to armor those spots. Because these bullet holes have shown us that they can take a bullet and come back. That's why I say it's the logical error of only concentrating on the one part and not the rest. And like I said on Twitter the other day too, like when you're saying shit like this, who are you for? Are you for brands? Are you for the exceptions? Or are you for people? You going out the window for a brand is embarrassing. I honestly feel so embarrassed for people when they say shit like this to me. Because these brands give no fuck about you. I joked about this on Twitter a bit that, who else is going to say this? Is Daniel Arsham, his buddy, going to say anything about this? A professional artist and designer. Is he going to say anything to Hidden New York about this? No. He's his friend. He's too busy trying to get likes, like I've been saying. I've honestly lost all respect for Daniel Arsham ever since he posted those distressed Dior's. And I tweeted about this, and I've been kind of riffing on it that, he just jumps from trend to trend, Pokemon and blah, 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 even if he has no connection to it. If he's doing art, he's doing art. But if he's just selling some shit that he doesn't even live through and doesn't believe in, then he's doing commerce. He's not an artist. Cause is an artist. Banksy is an artist. This CJ Hendry is an artist. Josh Keys is an artist. There's plenty of artists that believe in what they believe and kind of put it in their work. If you believe that this will sell, you're no different than anyone else selling a t-shirt. And honestly, telling an artist that his work has no heart is probably the worst thing they could hear. But, your buddies aren't going to say it. Ronnie Fike is not going to say it. Sockjig is going to say it. In a way, I understand his response. He sees some account with, 500 Instagram followers and thinks that I'm calling him unethical. And even if he's 100% running it ethically, it's still very clear that he can't take criticism, that he didn't think critically about what I said, even after I provided backed up links and research and stuff. When you're mad at someone, you don't want to read links and go, I see what you're saying. Even if, though, at the end he sort of said, I disagree. But he did say plenty of mean things to me earlier as well, too. It's easy to flex that you have 400,000 followers and, you're kind of the shit. There's articles written about you. You can respond to someone who says all design contests are unethical and start flexing a bit. You can think, what does this guy know? It's very clear to me by your page is kind of what he said to me, that you haven't struggled like I have. If he thinks I don't know anything about design, he needs to think critically about what I was saying to him. How is it possible that I know of nospec.com and I know all of this if I have no design shops? I've been in the web design world since 1999. How old were you in 1999? I was reading K10K.net when you were in kindergarten. I've seen design trends from, Ray Gun Magazine, David Carson designs, all the way to, bubble stuff to this mood board shit now. If you don't think I got credibility, I got credibility. I got credibility up the yin yang. If I were to do this contest, here's how I would ethically do this contest. I would have a theme. This is the theme. If you want to submit your previous design work, and I will go through all your previous designs and also submit how you would implement my theme. Then I would engage and hire that designer under contract, and I would pay them fairly. Not this whatever, if streetwear only pays $250 a t-shirt, I would pay them what is a fair price for their work experience, for their level. Otherwise, you're just taking advantage of amateur designers. To all designers, amateur and professional alike, my point is know your worth. If you're good enough to win this contest, you're good enough to be paid. And these kind of gatekeepers are totally unnecessary. I've sold socks. Did I need anybody else to do any of that? No, I built an audience. I built it on Twitter one joke at a time. It takes time. If you guys want these shortcuts through these gatekeepers, this is what you have to give up. You have to give them everything. You have to give them the intellectual property of what you've created. You have to give them free design inspiration. To these brands, I say embrace ethics by design. Use the principles of ethics and integrity in everything you do, in design, development, delivery, how you hire people, and how you pay people. In terms of what have I ever done for anyone, I'm in this small sneaker space. I got a Twitter account. I make jokes on there. I make people laugh. But I've done plenty. I've done a lot. I know people. I don't always talk about it. To my friends in my group chat, I've helped them. They've helped me. I've made them lots of money. They're thankful for it. I'm thankful for them. They've made me lots of money. I've referred people to jobs in this industry. I've referred founders to devs that they can work with and not been paid a cent for that, and never any public acknowledgement. I referred, Nike plug to Complex so he could get featured in that article. I've sent other stories that they've written. Not a single credit for that. Not that I was going to ask it. Not that I wanted credit for that. It was like, hey, here's a thing. You might want to write a story on it. Here's the email. Go ahead. I went on this podcast and basically detailed almost everything I did in how I sold the product, given my playbook. And the friends closer friends that I had, I gave them the second level of that, my list of merchants and retailers that I've used. I've paid people who've done design work for me. I've shown an ounce of humor. That's what I've done. I've never once deleted an Instagram comment. I've never once DM'd anyone and said, what have you done for anyone? I've never once DM'd anyone and said their product has no creativity whatsoever. I've never once DM'd anyone and spoke rudely to them and basically said, do you know who I am? You want to know who I am? I'm the people's champ.
Damn, that boy can sing. You must be crazy. He good. You must be crazy.
I gotta change the mood a bit here. It's been a tough few weeks lately in terms of people I know or appreciate dying. Just the other day we learned of MF Doom's passing. Even I went to my local UPS after the Christmas break, and I learned that someone who worked there died over the holiday. And he was the one who scanned my packages just on the 23rd, right before the holiday. This is someone you see every couple times a week. But over the Christmas break, we got word that a member of my group chat that I'm in, Showers Gang, died. His name is Benny. And, just days earlier, I had tagged him in this Instagram story that this Supreme sticker that I had reminded me of him, and how that's how skaters always pose in photos. And it reminded me of him, so I tagged him, and we had a good laugh about it. And he was just all around one of the coolest guys. His name was Benny.The.Guy. And from the short time I knew him, you can tell how someone is. Even if you haven't met in real life, you can just tell how they live their life. And it was obvious he's the type of guy who had the courage to live a life that was true to himself, and not a life that others expected. So, I think that's a path or a lesson that we can all follow or learn from. The saying is to hug a loved one, and that's not exactly easy these days. But in this online sneaker world that we live in with, cook groups and Slacks and Discords and stuff, and, these kinds of friends and family group chats, the dynamic is different. Especially in, say, an all-male group where not exactly easy to tell another dude that you care about them. But, you can reach out, you can check in on your friends, you can tag them on Instagram when a Supreme sticker reminds you of them. I'm certainly glad I did. My deepest condolences to Asher and his whole family, to Shadia and, all of Bren's friends. For the outro here, I just wanted to play a song that I've listened to a lot over the years, and it's helped me a lot in, in the ways that only music can. The original recording was an acoustic one, and it's actually pretty haunting. But I recently found this live version with a full band that makes it way more upbeat, even if the lyrics are not. And it's kind of like how the Smith songs can be. So, I'll play this out. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next time. This is Coxcomb Red by Songs Ohio. Rest in peace, Betty.
I wanted that heat so bad I could taste the fire on your breath. And I wanted in your storm so bad I could taste the lightning on your breath. And I watched you hold the sun in your arms while he bled to death. Grew so pale next to you. The world is so pale next to you. Your hair is coxcomb red, your eyes are viper black. Your hair is coxcomb red, your eyes are viper black. Said every road is a good road. The next road and the last. Every road is your last road. Every love is your best love. Every love is your last love. And every kiss is a goodbye kiss. Every kiss is a goodbye